The situation in France remains volatile. Streets are set ablaze, highways are blocked, and tear gas is choking the air. Block everything. That's the rallying cry sweeping across the nation. And as Sébastien Lecornu takes the hot seat as Prime Minister, the anger only deepens. Flames, barricades, and tear gas. France woke up to chaos. From Toulouse to Lyon, from Paris to Nantes. Thousands of protesters answered the call to the protests led by a loose left-wing collective called Block Everything. The message: resistance to President Emmanuel Macron and his freshly appointed Prime Minister. Well, these are images from the French capital. Protesters used trash cans to block roads. Clashes broke out between police and protesters in Paris. In Toulouse, protesters set tires ablaze at a roundabout, the smoke mixing with tear gas as riot police charged in. In Nantes, volleys of gas canisters sent demonstrators scrambling, faces covered with scarves. Eyes were burning, but fists were raised up. The anger spilled onto the M7 in Lyon, where crowds blocked morning rush hour traffic. Cars sat stranded, horns were blaring, as demonstrators called Lecornu's appointment a slap in the face.
Allez, merde!
These are images from Nantes, where around 100 protesters attempted to block a roundabout near the ring road over the Laurier River at dawn while it was still dark, but were repelled by police using tear gas. In northern France, dozens stormed the gates of an Amazon fulfillment center, chanting against corporate power, holding banners scorched by flames. Similar angry scenes were witnessed elsewhere in Paris. These are images near a Paris high school. Students and activists held banners calling for a change. Police deployed across major cities, firing tear gas, using water cannons, and dragging barricades off highways. Yet the crowds kept returning, their defiance fueled by frustration over rising living costs, political gridlock, and what they see as Macron's arrogance in handpicking his new prime minister. The decentralized nature of today's protests, set to flare up even in the countryside and small towns, is reminiscent of the 2018 Yellow Vest movement that, without a clear political leadership, became a major test for Macron during his first term in office. Anne Elizabeth Mortet is a columnist. The London Telegraph specializes in international affairs. She's now joining us from Paris. Motet, thank you very much for making time for us, and welcome to WION World is One. Why is there so much backlash and anger against Loukonou even before he starts his job?
Well, first of all, this is absolutely not linked to Sébastien Lecornu. Nobody knew when they planned those protests at least a month ago, and it began with the hard right, not the hard left. It was joined recently by the hard left, but it was planned by the hard right as a reminiscent movement of the Yellow Vests. And nobody knew that Prime Minister Bayrou would first decide to hold a vote of confidence, and second, that he would lose it. I mean, once he decided, it was fairly understood that he would lose it. But until yesterday, nobody knew that Sébastien Lecornu was going to replace François Bayrou as Prime Minister. And second, Sébastien Lecornu, who's been the Defense Secretary for almost 4 years, is a quiet sort of personality. Not at all, it's not against him. It certainly is against Emmanuel Macron, who's very much hated a year and a half before the end of his second and last term. But it is it's not so much opportunistic to politics now. And second, of course, you've got all those images of unrest, but you've got 80,000 police and gendarmes across the country. So far, you've had something like 100 to 150 arrests. You've got violent things in spots, but it is nowhere like the Yellow Vests. And I live near the Champs-Élysées, and therefore I had coffee mid-morning at the Champs-Élysées, and there was absolutely nothing happening, and things were going on. The cafe was open, and I had coffee with a friend. So I think this is magnified, and of course, the organizers are delighted that it's magnified because they want to express a position to a president who, by and large, is unpopular. But it is not at all the most sort of rabid demonstrations we've had since the Yellow Vest. We've had others, even the green demonstrations over the years, and the ones that opposed a number of what they see as anti-environment laws have been more violent than what we're seeing so far. It may change, it may evolve. Certainly the Home Secretary is worried, and this is why he's got all sorts of forces, but the forces are not trying to engage so much. When you say that you've got 100 people on a roundabout outside Toulouse, honestly, the rest of the city of Toulouse is not in the state that the roundabout is in.
All right, Ms. Motet, let's talk about the change of power now from Bayrou to Sébastien Lecornu. What is your view about the new Prime Minister?
The new Prime Minister ought to have been appointed by Emmanuel Macron 9 months ago instead of François Bayrou. He has known the president for a long time. He is seen as a safe pair of hands. He had a number of jobs in cabinet. He's not publicity mad. He is somebody who will try and speak to every party in whatever job he has, and he's already said that he will not compose his government immediately, but he will talk to every party from the hard left to the hard right, which is a novel experience in France under Macron. He was an extremely appreciated defense secretary. You have to remember that Emmanuel Macron, when he came to power for his first term in 2017, 1 month after he was elected, he put the backup of the military by firing the chief of the Joint Staff in a public ceremony at the time of Bastille Day. It was something that was seen as contemptuous and rude. What the chief of the Joint Staff had done was to speak in a commission behind closed doors at the National Assembly, pleading for a larger defense budget, which is what usually the military will do with what everybody does for their own budget. So you had to walk this back. And if you take someone like Lecornu, he is somebody who is a reserve officer in the gendarmerie. The gendarmerie is part of the military, not the police. He is a law graduate. He went to Catholic schools. His nature is conservative, but he says, I will work with whoever is willing to work with me. It's very sad in some ways that he was only appointed now. The reason why he wasn't appointed the last time is that Emmanuel Macron called up François Bayrou, who was the leader of a coalition party that was necessary to keep some control in parliament, and told him, you're not the prime minister, Lecornu is the prime minister. And Bayrou came to the Élysée and shouted at Emmanuel Macron for an hour and a half, and he picked him. And 9 months later, we've wasted 9 months.
Miss Elizabeth, Motet, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time and for
Thank you.
talking to us today.